Hi, Algebra 1. In lessons 18 and 19 here, we're going to be looking at inequalities. So it's going to be similar to equations, except now we're going to see inequality symbols. Here we go. And here's how they match up. When you're looking at these symbols, just remember that the large end of the symbol right here is going to point to the larger portion, and the smaller end is going to point to the smaller one. So, for example, in A, this would be read as H is greater than 50. On to 18.2, I tried to make the information for this problem a little bit more easy to read than it is in your book. So they're planning a senior ball at a high school. Last year they had 120 people. This year they're expecting up to 200 people. They need one chaperone per 20 students. The ticket price can't be over $20 per person. And the ticket sales need to cover the cost of meals and the entertainment, and they have to make at least $200 for the school. So now you have on your page some constraints that look like this. They're written as inequalities because things have to be less than or greater than a certain amount. And your job is to look at these and try to figure out what the variables are representing. So what does the T represent in each of these? What does the P represent? What is the M? And what is the C? This inequality right here is telling us that P has to be greater than 120 but less than 200. And so what I'm looking at that referring to here is that P is representing the number of people that are going to be there. The next one I'm looking at is this one right here. T has to be less than 20. Well, over here, the thing that had to be less than 20 was the ticket price because it can't be over 20, it said. So T is representing our ticket price. Then down here, C has to be greater than or equal to P divided by 20. And that's kind of a different one. But the number of people, that's what P is, divided by 20 is going to tell us the number of chaperones. And the chaperones, you have to have at least or greater than the number of people divided by 20, or one chaperone per 20 students. So C is representing the number of chaperones. And then this third one right here, P was the number of people, T is the ticket price, M is going to be the cost of meals and entertainment. The number of people times the price per ticket, that's how much money you make. And then if you subtract off those expenses, the meals, we still have to have that be over $200 because we have to make at least $200. From the previous slide, we saw that the number of chaperones has to be greater than the number of people divided by 20, or one chaperone per 20 people. So if there's 120 people there, 120 divided by 6 or 20 is 6, and so the number of chaperones has to be greater than 6. Going ahead to your lesson summary at the end of this lesson, this is one important chunk of information here. It's just helping us remember what those symbols mean in words. So read those over, review for yourself what those symbols mean. This is another important part from your lesson summary, so make sure you make note of this. One example I want to show is this one right here. To cover all the expenses of a musical production each week, the number of weekday tickets sold, which is D, and the number of weekend tickets sold, which is E, must be greater than 4,000. And that's matching this inequality right here, just showing that we can have more complicated stuff in our inequalities. For example, D plus E is going to be greater than, or has to be greater than, 4,000. The other good one to look at here is the total cost of buying some shirts. Adult shirts are $12 each, children's shirts are $7 each, and the total cost must be less than 150. And so that's looking at this inequality right here, that 12 times the number of adult shirts plus 7 times the number of children's shirts must be less than 150. This is reminding me back to some of the equations that we wrote at the beginning of Unit 2.